menyaksikan CNBC Indonesia bersama saya Safri Nasution dan telah bergabung secara eksklusif bersama kami di CNBC Indonesia President Supervisory Board of Endress+Hauser Group, Matthias Altendorf. Sir Matthias, how are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us in CNBC Indonesia. A pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So, the CNBC Indonesia audience would want to hear from you firsthand about what your company does to the world. It's been a long time coming, since 1953. So what does your company do?
Okay, we are a measurement and control company which serves the process industry around the world. Our primary customers are on the food, chemical, petrochemical, pharmaceutical, metals and mining, energy, pulp and paper, shipbuilding industry, and we try to help them to be more efficient, safe, reliable, and accurate.
Wow, wonderful. How do you define sustainability? How do you define Endress+Hauser long-term vision for sustainability on a global scale as you've been operating in many parts of the world?
The sustainability aspect for us has three major components. One, of course, we try to help to protect the environment and don't use more resources as needed in order to produce what we do or to manufacture the way how we do it. The second point for us is, of course, the social component. We try to provide jobs, but we also try to provide taxes, which the societies where we operate in need. And the third element is we try to have good governance in our business, because we have, as a family business, we don't think from quarter to quarter, we think from generation to generation. And that's the spirit we carry inside Endress+Hauser when we talk about sustainability.
So complying to issues of environmental, social, and good governance.
Exactly.
That was the key, and what Endress+Hauser has been doing for the many years. What are the core pillars of the company's global sustainability strategy, and how are they being implemented across diverse regions? As we know, you've been operating in many countries. They have different challenges, unique perspective. How do you see it?
First, of course, for me, very important, we take care of our people. All our employees are very valuable to us. We want that they are safe, that they're protected, that they have a good and working environment. And the same is for our customers. We focus that our customers have the same, and our suppliers and partners we operate with. And then we try to follow the rules which every country has. We try to comply to every rule each country has, and the legislation is around the world different, but we try to comply as much as we can. And then in each country, we try to help our customers to minimize the resources they use. And we help them to be more efficient in what they are doing. And with this, they become more sustainable, and that's how we support them to become better in what they are doing.
Wonderful. How do you see Asia, and especially Southeast Asia, as a market for Endress+Hauser, and Indonesia as a population with 270 million and a very unique perspective and demographics? Why do you tap into this market? What is the unique perspective that you see in this region?
Well, the Southeast Asian market for us has been always very important, because there's a lot of industries which need our equipment and which the world needs the products they produce. It has a very young population. The education of the people becomes better and better. And there's a certain dynamics which is much higher than we have it in Europe. And we need this dynamics to learn from. And we engage in Southeast Asia to learn to become better on what we are doing.
In terms of dynamics that you've mentioned, would you see it as an opportunity for Endress+Hauser as a company to grow and to operate, or also you saw it as a challenge that you overcome?
No, for us it's always an opportunity. The market has to be attractive or big enough that we operate in. Then we normally have our own organization in those markets. And in Southeast Asia, we have in all countries our own operations meanwhile. And this helps us to penetrate the market.
Your perspective on sustainability. In your view, how important is sustainability today in shaping competitive advantage and securing global industry trust, as we're speaking in this Endress+Hauser Sustainability Recognition Awards?
Yeah, I think if we do it right, if we focus on saying sustainability, we also make it economically very successful. I believe if we can save resources which we don't spend, if we reduce the energies which we need to manufacture, at the end of the day, this is also commercially very viable. And I think sustainability and commercial success goes together. You cannot separate from each other.
Some of the very conventional business that we saw, especially in countries like Indonesia or Southeast Asia regions think of sustainability innovations are not as affordable as the conventional ways of business. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think for some countries, the social aspect is as important as the environmental aspect, because we have to provide jobs. Jobs provide dignity for lives. It provides incomes. People can pay for their health, their food, their education of the kids. So I think it's also very important that we have jobs to create income for people. That's the social part of it.
Yeah, that's the social part of it. So job is very important, and it's aligned to what Endress+Hauser has been doing for many years, the environmental, social, and government, and also providing jobs and dignity to the people and as a general. Could you, sir, share some flagship initiative or projects that best represent Endress+Hauser commitment to sustainability worldwide?
Well, we have several things. One thing for us is very important, that any society can strive. It needs clean water and it needs sufficient energy in an affordable price. And we are very engaged around the world in water production, water manufacturing, cleaning water around the world. So we have a lot of initiatives around the water. And one of our sustainability initiatives around the world is what we call the Water Challenge.
Water Challenge.
And all our people in the company, they commit to that. And when they move, when they swim, when they cycle, when they run in teams, for each mile they run, they donate money, and we double it from the company, and then we invest it into one project around the world where the need of clean water is needed.
What technology specifically?
It's not necessarily technology. It's in general to make fresh water available for human beings, to have the hygienics needed.
Okay, that's very wonderful. How does the company then ensure consistency in applying sustainable practices across different countries? But we know every country has different regulation and standards and what you mentioned before, dynamics.
Yeah. We try to stick to standards, and we of course have goals which we would like to achieve. And then we have a long-term approach that we say, okay, until 2035 we want to be there, and then 2050 we want to be there. So we have long-term projects. This is what we do. When, for example, we make a new building today, sustainability is a fundamental pillar of a new construction site, for example. That is fully considered.
From the sustainability development goals, as we have already known and very familiar with, how does your company give impacts to that?
Yeah, we signed what we call the scientific-based world initiatives, so that we reduce our carbon footprint by around 35%. And we also want to be net zero by 2050, and that's our commitment, what we have given.
What's your thought about, this is a macroeconomic issues that I really would want to ask you, as your company has been a prominent player in sustainability and providing sustainability to the world. I would really want to hear about your perspective about the newly elected president of the United States, Donald Trump, has been revoking the United States from the Paris Agreement and has many regulations that brings dynamics to the world. That's including the reciprocal tariffs and etc. I would really want to hear from you about how, as a company, could shift and move towards the dynamics in a prudent way.
I think we have to separate. One is sustainability. And the sustainability for us is the spirit of our company and the support for our customers. And at the end of the day, our products have to be competitive and have to give our customers a competitive advantage. If we achieve this with a sustainable fashion, I believe we're even more competitive than everybody else. The second point is the tariffs. Of course, for us as a Swiss company, which is globally active, we find measures to overcome that, because today we produce already 80% of what we sell in the United States, we produce in the United States. But our supply chain, of course, is global, like for many tech companies it is. And I believe the world will find peace with it by negotiations, by finding new agreements, because at the end of the day, you cannot turn the global trade back. This will not work.
Yeah, it will not work. Okay. what does it have, the effect on Endress+Hauser global operation and supply chain? Will that impact something to the supply chain and global operation, the recent trade tensions and tariff conflict, especially those involving in the United States and China?
Of course, depending where we source, if the tariffs are imposed on Europe or imposed on India or imposed on China, depends a little bit where the raw materials come from. We would adjust our supply chains if we would get a competitive advantage through it. But for the moment, this is very unclear. And at the moment, business stays as usual, and we focus on serving our customers, and then we find measures how to deal with the subject.
That's a wonderful perspective, sir. And has Endress+Hauser had to rethink its sourcing or production strategies as a result of tariff uncertainties and dynamics in the macroeconomy?
Not really from a sourcing point of view, but depending from which factory we ship which products.
Okay.
Of course, when I give you the example, at the moment we produce everything for Mexico, Canada, and United States in United States. However, if the Canadians or the Mexican government would impose tariffs from things manufactured in the United States, we would ship it from Europe, or we ship it from South America, or we ship it from Asia. So this is what we have to find out now.
Having been in the world for more than 70 years and having seen the dynamics of the world, what do you think the trend of sustainability is evolving, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, sir?
I think, the direction of sustainability will not change. The speed might change because it has to be digestible. And we also have to realize that energy costs normally hits the poorest part of any society.
Right.
And therefore we have to balance out that sustainability and the social impact it has goes together in harmony for the benefits of any society.
How was the year of 2024 for Endress+Hauser, and what do you think this year is going to be for your company global operation, and also specifically in Southeast Asia and Indonesia?
2024 for us was an overall a very good year, with different highlights and lowlights, of course, but in general it was a very good year. And I believe in 2025, in the second half, we see already a recovery of the global economy.
Okay, we will continue our discussion after the break, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having your opinions and insight, but we will continue our conversation.